Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. Yet another great show. In the first hour, we're going to be speaking with my good friend Keith Blanchard about his new book, For the Love of God. I thought it was for the love of money, but I guess we're going to find out about God. I don't know. In the second hour with Mary Sutherland about the red-headed giants. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about the products and services I offer, including medical intuition evaluations, energy healings, and psychic readings. So if there's things going on in your life, you need some guidance and advice, give me a call, send me an email, and we can set up a time for a private consultation in person, by phone, and even via Skype chat. How cool is that? It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics, where you can jumpstart your intuition today by downloading their free 50-page guide. You can do that by going to www.appliedenergeticsinstitute.com. One other quick announcement, and I'm going to be starting to talk about this every week as we move forward. In about 6 months is the Paradigm Symposium being held in Minneapolis, Minnesota. ParadigmSymposium.com, I think, is the website. Check it out. You know, there are a lot of people that have asked me, well, when are you going to come out speaking, or where are you speaking, and can I come hear you talk? I will be there speaking. Good friends of the show are going to be there. Laird Scranton, Ed Nightingale, who was on last week, Scotty Roberts, John Ward. Excellent speakers. It's going to be a great show. Check it out. Get your tickets today. ParadigmSymposium.com. And if you haven't got your copy of Icon, we are in the process of getting some digital copies made so you can actually purchase a disc off of the Just Energy Radio webpage, in addition to my ET Chronicles. So it's all good. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Keith, and let's get him on the air. Whoosh. Best-selling author and composer Keith Blanchard. Let's see, and we're going to skip down to here. In his late 20s, went through a crisis that stripped him of everything he held dear and left him with no choice but to turn inward for answers. In doing this, he found peace and stability. The peace and stability he wanted still eluded him. When he was 32, celestial beings began to appear to him, sharing glimpses of his future and the world. Not only did they enlighten and guide him, they instructed him to pass their message on to others so that they too could learn a higher way of living. His webpage is KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com, his book, For the Love of God. So please welcome Keith Blanchard. Hey, Keith, how's it going?
Hello. Fabulous. I'm here.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, I always love having you come on the show because we have excellent conversations every time.
Yeah, I look forward to it. I was looking forward to it all week, actually. I had to call you a little early on the phone just so I can hear your voice. I was getting so excited.
See, I knew there was a ploy to that phone call. I knew it. Well, and you weren't a telemarketer, and you weren't one of those recording things that say, oh, well, there are issues with your credit card, so you need to call us. And it's like, huh? Anyway. Keith.
My calls now are attention seniors. Somehow they think I'm in my golden years, but I love the idea, but I'm just not quite there yet.
Yeah, maybe when you're like 97, they can start doing that, right?
Yeah, righto.
When I got your book, For the Love of God, and opened it, I read the foreword and I thought, hey, this is pretty good.
I really appreciate your contribution to the book. Dr. Rita wrote the foreword for my new release, For the Love of God, and it was very on point. I really thought it fit well.
Well, and I have to tell you, I was reading it, and I'm thinking, hey, this is pretty good. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I wrote this. Righto. And it's interesting. When you asked me to write it and when I did write it, it was not long after Wayne had passed. And so I felt like I was in really not a great place. But at this point in time, reading it again, I'm like, hey, that was actually pretty good. I mean, because I could feel where I was just in the energy of where I needed to be to provide you the words that needed to be in this book.
Yeah, and it also set very well with me, and I think it created a really good tone for the book because, talking about storms and calm seas, and it's just a dynamic that the whole human race moves through. At some periods of our life, sometimes we're okay and we get to hang out in really calm waters, still waters with nice skies and a nice breeze, but sometimes that wind gets a whipping and those seas get a little choppy, and so does your life. And it will humble you and put you on your knees and made you wish you have done the prayer work beforehand.
Your platform has always been do what you love or love what you do. I don't know. I always get them backwards. But anyway, but even when you do what you love and love what you do, we still experience those rough waters periodically. Even if you have a great meditation practice, even if you pray. I mean, wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. Life is a series of coming and goings. It's a series of goods and bads, lights and darks. And no matter, even for enlightened beings, all the work that I've read in my life, it states that you get to a place within yourself that this light, dark, good, bad, calm, turbulence just falls away because you become the peace. You become solid as a rock. So all that other stuff is just movement. You don't give it labels, and therefore it takes on a new tone, a new dynamic. It doesn't have the, I've gotten to a place in my life, thankful to a mentor of mine, that whenever I would stub my toe or break something or hurt something on my body or something that physically hurt, instead of looking at this as, oh my God, this hurts and this is such amazing pain, I was able to shift to a state of this is just feeling. Intense feeling, mind you, but it's just feeling. In changing that idea, it does a lot to the energy for the pain, for the return karma that would happen again. But doing what you love doesn't necessarily mean that the woes of life are going to pass you by. You can bet on that.
Do you find that when things that are challenging or that upset the cart or are difficult to move through, do you find those experiences cleansing, even if you notice the cleansing in hindsight?
Yeah, I would think that the situation, that when you cross through the threshold, when you break on through to the other side, that's probably where your biggest growth lies in your life, is when you come up against these monumental places, because I'm using the word monumental, it's that monumental for you to be able to break through. And when you do, you have the same result. If something big is happening to you in your life that's not fun, when you're able to move through that, you're going to have the same bigness on the other side of rebirth. I would absolutely agree with that, because 1992, when I went through that relationship, for 10 years, and it brought me to my knees for 2 years. Despair, depression. But I tell you what, when I got through the other side of that, as much darkness as I had playing with that energy, when that box opened, it was just amazing for me. So I would agree that to the depth and to whatever degree the lesson, that when you come clean on the other side, I think the reward would be equal.
Well, I think, and I'd like your thought, that it gives us strength to overcome other challenges that we might, meet down the road.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It prepares you for whatever else may come. And I think that if you have a big issue and you're able to move through that and you come out smelling very nicely on the other side, when something equal or something lesser shows up, it's a no-brainer. It's so much easier to be able to move through because you've done the work. You know how to move through such thick issues, such, issues that have some density to them. And, the lighter ones just become even easier.
I know. It's like, oh, my car blew up. Okay. I'll just share this. I've had periods where I've had everything blow up, break, fall apart within like a 2-week period, and then when the microwave just goes, it's just like, whatever. And now stuff breaks, and it's like, okay, whatever. I mean, there's not the emotional reaction that it used to get.
Yeah. And, sometimes, I still have that right off the bat emotional reaction. I catch myself all the time. But doing the work that I have extensively and intensively, I've learned that as soon as something catches me by surprise and I go into that particular dynamic of fighting it back, I'm immediately on top of it. And I catch myself and I do the breath work and I breathe into it and I dissipate the energy immediately just by doing the breath, by getting the breath involved in the dynamic that I may be overwhelmed with at that moment.
And you find that helps you shift the energy, release the energy. What does that do for you?
It makes me become friends with it. It makes me become conscious of it. It helps me to manipulate it. It helps me to move through it and dissipate it. If I find myself in an issue, I just got some news, some pretty solid news that is just going to move me for a while. Instead of judging it at first, like I said, I may go to the, oh no, God, whatever words I may use. Once I get through that, I go into
some good French, huh?
Yeah. And I let the energy that I'm feeling, I let it be. I let it be present. I don't try to ignore it. I don't try to stuff it down. I let it be present. In fact, I start to excite it because I want to feel what it feels like. And then I go into, and I breathe myself into oblivion, basically, until I intuitively know that no more breath surrounding this particular issue is required. And lo and behold, you will take miles and miles off of your journey or any of the issues that may show up in your life just by breathing your way through the issue.
Excellent. And it sounds like that. I mean, it almost sounds like you're in labor or something.
Well, I believe it or not, that's actually kind of real. That's kind of true about the scenario because you are trying to rebirth yourself through a situation, an old paradigm. And, I breathe like mad. I open my mouth very wide and I start moving energy. And what it does, it literally burns whatever the scenario is. Because if you have an energy that is present in your body or in your mind or in your life, and it's of a denser nature, well, God breathed life through man. And if God is your breath, then obviously as you breathe, and if you breathe with sincerity and intensity, then you are bringing all this light in your body because of the oxygen. You're becoming charged. And so anything that's present, darkness, in that moment, when it's brought to the light, it just has to dissipate. It's not rocket science. It's a very, very real, simplistic principle.
And it can be that easy.
Try it.
I'm not going to do it right now. I'll wait for the next thing to blow up. No.
You had your microwave. Right. Right. But yes, I guarantee I've suggested this to people for many years, and they all come back with, oh, my God, what an amazing piece of information. And it's more or less now that when something arises, remembering that someone told you to do that becomes the issue. Because, the next day you may say, oh, I forgot to breathe through that. But breathe. That's the key.
Breathing's good. I like breathing.
Yeah.
Keith, one of the things that I know about you is that you're an extremely passionate person. I know that you're passionate about your music, and you're passionate about your practice, and you're passionate about your writing. In your opinion, what are the elements? What makes a person passionate?
Wow. What makes a person passionate? Let me think that about myself. What makes me passionate?
I mean, because there are the things, but then there's like this fire or this light that just keeps them, keeps it burning, I guess. I don't know.
Believe it or not, I think ego has a lot to do with it. Seriously.
Okay.
People on this anti-ego kick and spirituality, without an ego, you can't drive a car. I've been playing rock music since I was a child. I love it. I love the feeling of getting on stage and people are digging what I'm doing. Self-image, it's fun. I don't use it out of balance. I use it to drive my car, to drive my life. Drive meaning passion. I'm passionate. I love having fun, and it just so happens my areas of fun happen to be in the limelight. I mean, I don't feel special above and beyond anybody else, but that's just where my gig is. But what makes a person passionate? Fun. I think reward, self-reward. What's going to happen on the outset when what you have done. When writing the Divine Principle, writing for the love of God, it's all been fun. From the preface all the way to the epilogue, it was all just a blast. But that one feeling, when that UPS man knocks on the door, and you're waiting on that box. And when I bust that box open, the feeling I had of 15 years of writing for the love of God, it came into fruition. All of it just came into this moment, this internal explosion, opening the box. It was a metaphor for me for opening something inside of myself that I've now become solidified. So what makes a person passionate? I think part of it could be in the genes. I think part of it could be in the alignment you have with Creator before you were born. There's a lot of different variables, but I think it's doing what you love. I think you have to find something. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. If God is love, when you do what you love, you are in alignment. You become a vessel. Prosperity and abundance and happiness by law becomes the response. It's not that difficult. No one wants to get up and go to a job that they have to work 40, 50, 60 hours, just to make money, and they hate it. I mean, you can't have any quality of life because now you're grumbly. You come home from work, you take it on the wife takes it out on the kids take it out on each other, they bring that stuff to school. Where's the passion? Where's the drive? Where's the desire to live? Other than existing. So when you find what you love to do and you make that a part of your daily life, even if it's in small doses at first, the reward is so far beyond money. And then when you get really good at your passion, because no one is like you, you're unique at what it is you do. Even if it's the same thing that other people do, you're doing your part better than anyone else. Your value, your appreciation value goes through the roof. And now you become something that everybody wants a part of. And then prosperity, abundance, wealth, affluence becomes a natural part of the response, part of the law.
I've seen so many young people that just seem passionless. Have you noticed that as well?
I've seen my share. That's for sure.
What's your take on that whole thing? Do you think, I don't even know what, I mean, I think that they have no passion, but I don't really understand why not. Do you have any thoughts on that? Any insights?
Yeah, one word, parents. Seriously.
Okay, explain.
If your parent, if your parent or parents are responsible for instilling everything in you that is going to shape you into the being that you're going to be in the future, when they are able legally and feel that it's time, that they are no longer responsible for your life, I think it's parents. They are the biggest influence. They are God to you. I mean, parents stand over their children. They tower over these children. You know, we were talking in the radio green room just a little bit ago about my son, how people say, wait till he turns a teenager, Keith, that's all going to change. I don't buy into it, because I am giving him the foundation, the groundwork. I'm giving him the power. I'm teaching him about what real power is. He, at the age of 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, he's going to be a wizard. He's going to be able to create that what he wants the rest of his life. And I'm not teaching him how to go out and get a job. I'm not teaching him, you better go get a job. None of these old ways of thinking. I'm just giving him the power and explaining to him that there is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. All there is consequence of choice. And he understands it. He gets it. And so I think it's parents. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of other things involved. You have, why did you incarnate into that family, blah, karmic reasons or whatever, and so on and so forth. But I think parents can really change and shape the child's life, because if the parents gave the child the empowerment, the confidence they need, maybe this particular child goes to school and is being bullied or picked on, so they'd have no confidence. Where passion is all about confidence.
Interesting correlation. I mean, my son chose the hard road. You know, it was like, let's be confrontational about everything. And so his consequence was he would have to read self-help books and write reports. He worked through the bulk of my library. But I'll tell you what, it must have done some good, because now all of his friends go to him and talk to him to get advice. It's like, well, I guess it was good you read all those books. So see, even in that adversarial, or, you know, in his adversary, now, anyway, you know, there was a blessing in disguise. Anyway,
yeah.
Moving on. Going to shift topics here. You had the opportunity to spend time in India with a holy man, Sai Baba. Why did you seek him out? Why go to India?
He contacted me. He came to me in a dream. Sai Baba, I learned about his presence in '98, and he started coming to me in dreams. And out of all the books I've read about his life, he doesn't write books. People like doctors and scientists and people who don't believe in this sort of thing, they went over there to see what all the hype was. And they come back, and these are the people writing these books saying, you know, I don't know what that is over there. It's far beyond my understanding of what I thought even possible in the form of a human being. And so the common denominator throughout all these books I read was, he said that if I come to you in a dream, you're not dreaming. I am truly present. Well, after coming to me for about a year and a half or so, in my dreams, he came to me in one particular night. He's standing across a river. And he starts to speak to me telepathically. And he says, Keith, I want you to come to India to see me on the ashram. And I said, I would love that, but I've never done such a thing. In fact, I've never left the country. Where would I do this? Where would I get the money? How? And he says, Keith, you need to put your doubt and disbelief aside. Get rid of your human logic. Come here to put your feet on Indian soil. Turn around and go home if you must do that. But at least take that step for me. So I wake up in the morning, figuring out how I'm going to do this. I said, you know what? I'm just going to let this go. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a lady I've never met. Hi, Keith. My name is Debbie. We have a mutual friend, and I hear you want to go to India to see Holy Man. I said, yes, this is true. She goes, Keith, I'm a flight attendant. I got some companion passes for the year that are about to expire. And I would not like that to happen, knowing you want to go to India to see a holy man. Can I give you a first-class round-trip ticket? So 3 months
just
later.
Just like that, out of the, it just, as you could say, it manifested out of the blue.
I tell you, it happened verbatim on my son. That is exactly what happened. I get the call 3 months later. I'm on a plane bound for India. I get to the ashram. While I'm on my pilgrimage, I brought a tape recorder and I logged everything. And when I wrote it in the book, For the Love of God, even though that's been in the year 2000, I kept, and I'm sure you probably noticed this, but I kept my trip while I was in India in present tense, because I wanted the book to have an impact as if you were truly there experiencing this through my eyes and through my feeling sensors. But while I was there, I saw, felt, experienced, intuited, had miraculously happened the most amazing things that most people will never see in a lifetime. I saw this happen daily. There's a lot of bells and whistles surrounding when I talk about Sai Baba, that he can manifest. And people's like, well, yeah, Keith, we know people can do that. And that's all cool. And that's all the flashy stuff. But what about the substance? Trust me, if there's a man on this planet that can manifest at will, there is substance there. It was just probably one of the highlights, other than my son and my trip to Hawaii, being in a rock band, playing there for 2 months. It was one of the highlights of my life. In fact, it was probably the highlight that expanded me to the level I now know as myself. I'm very blessed about it.
What was it like to be in the presence of a holy man like that? And I'm looking more for a feeling, sensory kind of response, I guess.
Yeah. I felt what it was like to be him, and I'll tell you why. Because if you go there, I would say even if you don't know, something will happen to you. If you go there with an inkling or just an idea that this person could be what it's said he is, as to why you would go there in the first place, you're going to have such an amazing humility come about you. And believe me, when you see him, when you see all of it, something inside happens. Something inside happens. You become so humbled. You know that your thoughts are being read. You know there's nothing this being does not know about you. So why put on a facade? Why fight it? Why go against the grain? You just humble yourself and allow yourself to be seen. You become visible. And in that humility, Dr. Rita, in that humility and in that, what is the other word I'm looking for? Vulnerability. In that humility is where God lives. God lives in that humility. And I was able to humble myself enough to where I was able to feel what it's like to be him. When he walks into the temple, you feel it. You feel it. You have 35, 40,000 people there on an average day.
What? Wait a minute. Say what?
Okay. 35, 40,000
I mean, that's like a rock concert size.
Yes. And this is an average. You're
thinking to yourself, man, if I could just get that kind of turnout when I'm playing, right?
Yeah, right. That many people there on an average day, on a festival day, Mahashivaratri festival, 250,000 people on his birthday, 250,000 people. But while I'm there, let's say a low number, 35,000 people. When this little 5'1" man, who never left the ashram. He's passed now. He passed on Easter morning in 2011. When this little man walks through this gate, 5'1", and 35,000 people's excuse to be there is to see him, when he comes through that gate, 35,000 collective conscious people, one pointed focus is on this image. And when this little man walks in, it's like he's gliding. I'm serious. It's like he's gliding on water. And you know within you that this is how divinity acts and behaves, walks and talks. There is an unspoken agreement. There's an unspoken power. When he walks into that Kulwant Hall, that temple, you feel it. 35,000 collective people. The energy becomes palpable. You can almost physically touch it. That's what it's like.
Wow.
And when he turns his hand, he's about to materialize something. Excuse me, be it ash, a coin, a watch, or a ring, and you can bet whoever he's going to give this to, it fits perfectly when it's manifested. It's just amazing. But when he starts turning his hand, and everybody's watching, you can feel the consciousness shoot through the roof. And I often thought, like in Star Wars, use the force around you. Is Sai Baba drawing from 35,000+ people's one-pointed focus attention and using his will to create detail? In other words, he's using that power, that energy, to manifest whatever he's manifesting. Because when I was on the ashram and he began to do those manifestations, it felt like we all went to the place where the object came from and brought it back together.
So what you're saying is that what he's doing is taking all that energy and then channeling it and making something manifest into the physical?
I'm not saying that is what he's doing, but that is
but that's what it feels like.
Felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt familiar to me is the best way to describe it. It felt like, I know this place. I know what he is doing. I know it's real because I feel the energy passing through me, and yet it's manifesting before my eyes.
Wow.
And you see, and when you're there, you don't only see him, you feel the power of 35,000 people sitting in lotus position all around you. Not only do you feel that, you peripherally feel that, you see that, you smell that, you hear it. You become so aware, so peripherally heightened, and it goes from top to bottom, bones to bones. It's so multidimensional. I wish there was, a technology now that when you read a book that you can actually put your finger on a sensor and feel what it was like to be there.
That would be really cool. Could you spend a couple of minutes and tell his story for the listeners? And, because you said that you've read some books about him, but what's his story that even drew your attention to him in the first place?
Well, I was new on the spiritual path when I learned of his presence. I was teaching a spiritual class. In fact, I called it Spirituality 101 at the Connection Center here in Memphis. And at the end of my class, a friend of mine came up and we were talking, and came up on the podium where I was standing. We were just bullying around, and we started talking about some of the pictures that were on the wall. They had a wall full of pictures of deities, everything from Mother Teresa to Gandhi to Buddha to Krishna to Christ and blah, blah, blah. And Sai Baba was actually the last in the lot. And I said, well, what's this guy? And what's his claim to fame? What's his mission? He says, Keith, see this right here? And he reaches down on the altar and he pulls out this little bowl, this little canister, and he shows me this Vibhuti ash that Sai Baba spontaneously manifests at will out of his hand. And I've seen this manifest on pictures that nobody ever touches. It just magically just shows up and it falls off. And it will fall off and stay there forever unless you touch it. Once you touch the picture, it'll stop. But being new on the spiritual path, I was at that place in my life where things were not good. And I wanted to learn because I knew that people can become masters. They can spontaneously manifest. And when I heard he was able to do that, I knew that was my path. That's the direction I'm going. I want to be able to manifest a life of bliss and passion with ease. And if he's the master and he's doing it, then obviously he's my teacher. And that's why I'm going to beat my feet. I started buying books and I started reading every book I can find about his life. And things started happening. Things started happening in my home. He would become present. You go, oh, Keith, that you just not. He became present in my home, blowing out candles, lighting candles, coming to me in dreams, bringing me to India, no expense to me. But my passion and my love for him, believe it or not, after my trip to India, it never changed as far as the level of devotion and who he is to me. But me placing him on the altar as God changed because my trip to India was successful in that it helped me to see myself that way. Because when I was in India, I was truly opened up to that level within myself, to where I was actually able to experience that. And it didn't come from him. It didn't come, I wasn't inside of him. It happened inside of me. But my reverence is still there with, absolute appreciation and reverence just for the manifestation of this holy man. And of course, that is his goal as well. He doesn't want anyone to see him as this divine figure, which he is. But he will also play the other side of that, which is, don't come to me. If you come to me, I've called you. If not, look within yourself. It's not necessary that you go to India unless there's a purpose. And I didn't know what that purpose was, except for my growth and to come back and spread this message of unity, which is my new gig, Dr. Rita. I'm all about the message of unity throughout the world. That is my new window in the work that I am pushing now.
Have other people that you've met or that were at the ashram have the same calling situation where they saw him in their dreams or felt very connected to him prior to coming to India?
Yeah. In fact, yes, all the time I hear people talk about, I know this lady by the name, in fact, she's a friend of mine, Dr. Shelley, don't remember her last name. She read a little bit about Sai Baba, kind of got interested, then she left it alone. She understood it. She was in Florida visiting a friend. Didn't tell anyone. And the phone rings, and her friend says, Shelley, it's for you. She goes, well, how can that be? No one knows I'm here. She answers the phone, and it's Sai Baba.
What?
Yes, absolutely. I have a dear friend of mine by the name of Sharon who lives here in Memphis. She's had some pretty powerful, phenomenal manifestations happen in her house with a mirror. Mirror is what? Silver. Looks like foil. Hers turned completely gold. With vibhuti ash all over it, and so they sealed it with a glass pane, so it's forever gold, and it's forever sealed this ash that's in there. But yes, people have dream experiences with him all the time. In fact, when I first started to dream about Sai Baba, my mind was only registering it as Deepak Chopra. If you look at Sai Baba's face and Deepak Chopra's face side by side, it's uncanny. Absolutely uncanny. But I know it was Sai Baba, not Deepak Chopra. And as far as a dream metaphor, my mind was doing that, making it Deepak Chopra, is because of the experience that was transpiring when it looked like Deepak Chopra. My mind didn't know of Sai Baba, so it found the nearest likeness. Or, I'm sure I'm absolutely emphatic about it, that Sai Baba could have made me see him, but for whatever acclamation reasons, I don't know. But yes, I hear people all the time, and I now, because of this book, I visit a lot of the Sai Baba centers, and I hang around a lot of Indians. And let me tell you, their devotion to this avatar and the Leelas, which translates to divine play or sport that transpires in their life, is amazing. This India happens in their house all the time. When I say India, I mean the miracles and the manifestations. This happens in their house all the time because you have a whole family unit who is behind this conviction, this consciousness. And when I go over there, I'm back in India again. I can feel it.
Does Sai Baba have a message, or is it more being in his presence that you're able to raise your vibration because you're creating a resonant harmony with him?
Yeah, I think it's both. His message is, anytime you read some of the Sai Baba stuff, you may see some pictures. You'll see one of his messages, in fact, in Hard Rock Cafe. One of the major players behind the Hard Rock Cafe movement is a Sai Baba devotee. Is love all, serve all. Love all, serve all. Help ever, hurt never. So these are kinds of his little phrases. And now this is really hard for people to grasp. And I'm not here to push beliefs on you. I'm here to tell you what I know to be honest, solid, and real, and the truth as I know it. And if I can brag a little bit, I can see. I can see. I am not a fool. I'm not blind. It's hard to pull something over on me because I'm very peripherally aware. I'm intuitive. I can feel. I can see with my eyes what your eyes are doing. I can see. the manifestation of this avatar that left 3 years ago, Jesus was a yogi. Buddha was a yogi. Paramahansa was a yogi. We're all yogis. We're beings that aspire to godhood. People like Buddha and Yeshua and the like, they have made it. So they became one with God through the course of their life, through spiritual sadhanas or practices. Sai Baba is an avatar, which means he was not born in the sense that over the course of his life he became one with God. He was born with God consciousness. Sai Baba is a pillar of light from the Godhead shining down on this planet that explodes in this array of amazing burst of consciousness light that was housed in a 5'1" body. A Mahavatar by the name of Babaji and others, they're not born at all. They just pop out of body anywhere they like and just begin to live through it. But Sai Baba is a full manifestation of the Godhead. Sai meaning mother, Baba, as Abba in the Bible, means father. So Sai Baba, Sati of Sai Baba is, Sati is truth, Sai, mother, Baba, father. So he is the truth. He is the absolute truth. In fact, he known by people as Paramahansa Yogananda and other high-level spiritual gurus that Baba is the highest incarnation of God to have ever walked on the face of this earth. That's
you
a
mean
big
like
That's
higher
a big
than
statement.
Rama and higher than Krishna and all of them?
Yes, but it's not so much that one can actually be higher than the other. I don't mean that one is bigger, better, higher, bigger muscles, anything like that. It's not that at all. It means more of the level of endowment, more of, I can't explain it. It's the Godhead personified in the form of Sai Baba. Baba was Krishna. Baba is Yeshua. It's all the same, but to that degree of spiritual manifestation and divinity, it is supposedly the highest incarnation to have ever walked on this earth.
Does he have a Mercedes Benz?
No, he has a Rolls Royce.
Okay, well, I'm just checking. I mean, 30,000 people showing up every day. I mean, come on.
He did get chauffeured around. There was a car. I likely doubt it was a Mercedes Benz, but yeah.
Did you ever get to spend any, with 30,000 people or 40,000 people? With all those people, did you ever get to spend any time with him?
There's a fortunate few, maybe 10 per blessing. He comes out twice a day, 10 per darshan, per blessing. He will point to, and it means you're lucky. You are a really lucky individual. He'll bring you in the back room and give you an interview. He'll an interview as well. He'll tell you about your life, tell you what's important, what you need to know about your life, what you need to work, whatever it is. I hadn't had that opportunity in that way, but I've had amazing things happen by him looking at me, talking to me telepathically, touching my hands, blessing beads, because I was in the beating hot sun for hours praying on this bead. You have to read the book, and that's not a plug or a pitch. There's just too much in this hour show to convey. We think that talking, and I know you know better, but talking happens communicatively with our mouth. But when you are able to go to India and experience something, or wherever it is you may be, to that level of awareness, talking happens in many, many different forms. And that's just not an escape from your question. That really is the truth. That when you're plugged into something that is omnipresent, and the only way you can understand omnipresence is to somewhat be that yourself, then a different form of communication begins to happen in many, many different ways.
And I don't mean this as like a judging question, but as you looked around the room with the people that you were in the ashram with at these blessings, were you surrounded by a whole group of spiritually aware individuals, or was it like anywhere else that there was just kind of a blend with some very advanced people and some that came because they just did?
I think that's true. I think it's all true. I think it was a hodgepodge. I think there was very spiritual enlightened people. There were priests, there were Buddhist monks, Tibetan monks. I mean, government officials. You can tell because if you've done a significant amount of spiritual work on yourself, and you have some intuition about you. When you're in the ashram, your intuition automatically heightens. So as you're walking around and you're meeting people and seeing people passers-by, you kind of have an immediate intuitive spark and notion about who they are, where they're from, and how endowed they may be. And some people will just knock you on your butt easily. I met this, I'm guessing, 7-year-old, 8-year-old little boy. When I was in the ashram, he's from England, a little Asian boy. His name was Elijah. Oh, my God. Yes, this little boy was put in front of me by Sai Baba. I'm telling you, there's no other way it could be. We were playing ball. He called down to me from my balcony and said, would you come down and play ball with me? I said, sure. And myself and my roommate, Darmir, from Croatia, coincidentally had the same birthday, and I asked him if he wanted to come down here and toss the ball with this little boy with me. He said, sure. And I could not stop looking at this kid. The ball was being passed to me, and it kept hitting me in my head because I was just too enamored of watching the light from this little boy. It's just truly amazing. But yes, it was a mixture of all kinds of people. And a lot of them were just people who were just curious. And a lot of people were serious about being there and were willing to take every morsel they possibly could from this experience and, milk it for what it's worth and use it for the rest of their life. Absolutely.
I mean, it just is very interesting. I mean, even in the book, I don't know that I realized there were that many people that were in attendance on a daily basis. And I know that you stayed there for 2 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I mean, did you stay in a hotel? See, now I'm just getting like into this whole mega logistic thing. Did you stay in a hotel or did you stay at the ashram? And did they actually have housing for that many people?
I did not know what to expect. I read a book called Spirituality and Sai Baba, just a real thin, book about what to expect, what not to expect. And when I got there, he drove me right up to the orientation office, and he said, "You here with someone?" I said, "No, I'm alone." He said, "I'll partner you up with someone." It cost me $1 American money now. Translated American money, it cost me $1 a day to stay in a room that was like a Motel 6. You open the door, to your right is a full shower, toilet, closed-in bathroom, a recessed closet for hanging clothes, 2 amazing cots, everything you ever needed. It cost me $1 a day, and I stayed right in the ashram. And my walk to Kulwant Hall to see and spend time in when Baba was given darshan, again, that means blessing, 8-minute walk on the ashram, beautiful layout, it's all gorgeous, everything's trimmed and neat, the greenery and birds, and oh my gosh, it's just heaven on earth.
So what did you do when you weren't at the blessing things?
Walking out on the street when it said you're not supposed to. To buy yeah, that's an understatement. To buy all the things I could possibly buy to bring home to share with friends and to build a shrine in my home, which I did. Posters and japamalas and this gold chain that I still wear around my neck that has never come off, except one night when I was sleeping, I woke up to find it off of my neck and clasped. I couldn't figure out how that happened. But I would walk around the streets. I would go to where Sai Baba was born, about a mile or so down the road. There's so much to do in the ashram, a meditation tree, a museum, and just people in the courtyard were my favorite. Just to meet people and see what life was like for them, where they come from, and why they were there, and just to experience that particular individual.
Cool. I mean, there's seeing Sai Baba, and then there's the rest of the experience, which I'm sure was an experience by itself.
And I tell you what, in all honesty, I enjoyed meeting those people as much as I enjoyed seeing Sai Baba come out of that little room every day. I thoroughly enjoyed it equally. One of my most fond memories of being in the courtyard when I had some downtime away from the whole Baba blast with light experience, I was sitting there with a gentleman who I just sat next to, and we struck up a conversation about Jesus, and it was just quite beautiful. This conversation was fine in and of itself, and after he left, and for a little while later, there was this Indian man sitting on a big boulder, about 6 feet away, close enough to hear a conversation. He was in meditation, and after the guy left, about 5 minutes later, he was silent as can be. About 5 minutes later, he said, "Saidam, can I tell you about the Jesus Christ that we know here in my country?" I said, "Absolutely." And the story he told me leveled me. It did not sound nothing. It didn't sound anything like what we heard here. In short, what he says, "Let me set up what I'm about to tell you." He says, if there was something that happened in your neighborhood, would you likely believe the people in your neighborhood who was close enough to the experience, or would you believe the people across town?
Neighborhood.
Yeah. He said, then trust me when I tell you, you know nothing of Jesus.
So was he of the belief, because there are people that speculate that Jesus spent his, from 12 to 30 in India, or are they saying that the whole Jesus story actually came out of India and then just kind of got picked up in the Middle East?
I think he definitely meant it to be funny, but I think it was all inclusive, meaning that, some of your ideas about Yeshua are true, but in the grand scheme of things, your country, your Bible, whatever, you really don't have a grasp on the energy and the manifestation of Yeshua and who he was. That he did go to India. He did go to the Himalayas. The Buddhist monks there knew he was coming, and so forth and so on. But it was magical to hear his humor and the way he chimed in. He didn't chime in immediately. He waited till it was the right moment. And it was just always in India. It was like a song was being played everywhere I went. And now I understand why they call India the motherland. It's just truly enlightening.
What would you say you took away from this experience in the big picture?
I think the most powerful miracle that happened when I was in India, of course, Sai Baba, I can actually say, and I'm for myself, and I'm saying this now to myself, that I in my lifetime saw God manifested physically. That being said, and the miracle of that being said, the other miracle that I feel is equally as powerful and equally as important as to why I am now my message with the radio show that I'm going to be doing, hopefully, that I've been doing. But my new message now with my work, my presentations, is about unity. I've been charged by a holy man recently, in the last couple months ago, a divine man a yogi who became self-enlightened by the name of Viswamji Visyogi. He told me about my past lives, told me a few other things, and he charged me with a mission. The most powerful, other than seeing Sai Baba and the miracle of that, was seeing 35,000 people from all walks of life live in harmony, coexist in harmony. It was so magical to see. The respect.
You haven't been to a Grateful Dead concert.
You're right. But they were there. I mean, and agreed, it's the same idea. But they were there, and they were salivating. They were passionate. They were sincere. There was such an amazing respect. They used the word Saidam, which means God. It means thank you. It means please. It means excuse me. It's just an endearment, and unspoken. I mean, you don't have to know the meaning. You know how it's being applied when it's spoken. It was truly a paradise. And just the energy there in and of itself was, I think, what the world is moving to and is going to manifest to. And I just hope that as many people who choose to be on board the heaven on earth prophecy, get your ticket and get on board, because it's going to happen. It's happening now. A lot of people looking at the fear in the world, the anxiety in the world, the stress in the world, the troubles of the world. I don't live in that world. I don't.
Okay, so what world do you live in?
A passionate one, as you so said. I live in a peaceful one. I live in an appreciative one. I live in a fun one, I'll tell you that. I live in a musical one. I live in one where I'm blessed to be with some of the most amazing people. Everyone I meet, and they actually don't have a choice. I win the argument every time, even though it's not an argument. You will be my friend. You don't have to like it. We are friends. We are friends, and there really is nothing you can do about it.
Oh, man. And I was trying to, get rid of you. Dang.
Yeah.
I'm stuck with you?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah.
And one final question, because we're getting to the end. There's your mission, but inside, how has it changed your life?
It helped me to touch a place, a space, a grace within myself that probably I would have not if it wasn't for that experience. Because what I needed was the humility to go there and to stop my brain, to stop my mind, to stop what I know as life here and go somewhere and be stripped down to the bare essentials, which was humility and grace and reverence and vulnerability, and just let go and say, I'm yours. Whoever you are, be it you in the physical, be it you above, and I'm just using the physical as the excuse. I'm using this time in India in front of all these people as my excuse to do that. And that's what it did for me. It helped me to expand. I was expanded. He touched my prayer bead, and I saw the birth of the universe, and in so doing. And it wasn't with physical sight. It was a different way of seeing. It was more of a knowing that was so encrypted and multi-layered. But, it's like taking a deep breath. And when you expand yourself that big, you've touched that width. You've touched that degree of yourself. And you can never undo it. So it still walks around with me. It's kind of like, now that I had a glimpse of it, I have to do the work for the rest of my life to try to get back to that place that I know what it feels like. But it's very, very subtle, but it's very, very powerful. So I guess the rest of my life is just to do what's required, be it work or be it letting go of work and ideas that I have in my head, or finding a balance and becoming the embodiment of the best human being I can possibly be.
Well, and that is all we can really do.
Yeah.
Anyway, our time is up. If somebody wants to get a copy of your book, For the Love of God, with the foreword by Dr. Rita Louise.
Yay.
Where can they get it?
You can go to KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com, KeithAnthonyBlanchard.com, or you can get it at Amazon or Barnes & Nobles, whatever your choice. It's For the Love of God, A Spiritual Journey.
But if they get it off your website, does it come signed and autographed and have the secondhand touch of Sai Baba on it?
No, only because the website is basically just a hub for the Amazon link. But go to the website because there's lots of other really cool stuff there. And it's not a sales pitch. There's a lot of really cool stuff to look at. I'm the guy that you can get on his website. You can email me. And you can bet I will email you back likely the same day. I am not untouchable. I'm the guy next door. And I have no compunction whatsoever. If I just met you to come sit at your table and start digging in your French fry basket and just start helping myself.
Yeah, I could see you doing that. Well, we need to go, Keith. So I'm going to say adieu.
I appreciate you. Thanks, Dr.
I love you. So you be good, and I will talk to you again soon.
Peace.
Okay, that's Keith Anthony Blanchard. His website is keithanthonyblanchard.com. His book is For the Love of God. I'm Dr. Rita Louise, and we'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.